Cowboys from Jimmy basically, in short, is pay the man. I get it, and I agree with it. I think sometimes when it comes to Coach Johnson and his comments about the Cowboys as a franchise, front office, organization, I think you need to take it not just with a grain of salt, but with all the salt that might go around one of his margarita glasses down there in Florida. A lot of salt. But in this particular case, Jimmy's evaluating the player and evaluating the situation. Now, Jimmy is not a salary cap expert. And so when he says, they should have signed him 3 years ago, they should have signed him 2 years, there was limitations to what they could have signed him and when at a certain time. But speaking generally, I agree with Jimmy Johnson. The Cowboys need to sign Dak. I think they need to hurry up about it. Maybe that's just because you are frustrated and I'm frustrated. But I think the longer this thing goes, the more messy it threatens to get. And the more people in the building start saying, well, what could we get for Dak in trade if Stafford nets that and if Deshaun nets that? I just think it's easier to do the deal with, not the devil, the Cowboys aren't a devil and neither is Dak, but do the deal with the dance partner that you know. And I hope that gets done. Give me your comments below whether or not you root for the same thing, get it done, or whether you kind of like the exploration of what else might go on. Speaking of Cowboy stars, the Dez hoodie is getting sent out today to Mr. Parrish. The Zeke bowling shoes, Richard the Lionhearted has those, and the Emmitt Smith bobblehead is going to go to a premium exclusive subscriber sometime very soon. So get in there, join that club, and let's go. I did a big premium and then premiere video on Tyron Smith, and I want to make a couple things clear, and I guess for the record, clear. My prediction is based on what the Cowboys want and what the Cowboys think. My prediction is not based on what Tyron's neck is saying. I just have my educated guess, and I guess I have my hope, because I think so much of him as a player and as a person, and have had over the years a great relationship with him. So I want him to get what he wants. He's been doing this for a decade. He is a football warrior. If his body or mind tells him, I don't want to do this anymore, he certainly has that right. My report on the truth about Tyron was about the Cowboys' view and the Cowboys' plan. They are not planning on Tyron Smith leaving. That's not their plan. They are not planning on cutting him. That's not their plan. And if he's got a different plan, they don't know it yet. I know that I'm sure that he'll keep them abreast of what his thoughts are, and his body and his mind have the right to those thoughts. Again, as a Cowboy follower, I'm hopeful that that works out. I still think Tyron Smith is a very, very good football player at age 30. There was somebody in the comments said, so let me get this straight, Fish. You think this about Tyron, you know this, but you're not sure, and you don't know, and you got a source, but the source... Dude, and I don't mind criticism. I invite it. It's okay. It's part of the conversation, barroom brawl. But if you're asking me to make up stuff about Tyron Smith's future, there are other places for you to go get that. It ain't going to happen here. Item. Rashawn Slater, the offensive lineman, with a bullet. The more people see of him, the more people like him, and I don't just mean the Cowboys. That is a legitimate idea at 10, and maybe even above it at this early stage, 2.5 months before we get to the April draft. Item. The recruiting of Amari Cooper, not to the Cowboys, but recruiting of Amari Cooper of the Cowboys. This is a fascinating thing. You can find it on my social media at Fish Sports. Somebody grabbed and leaked out a video of Nick Saban, the now legendary Alabama coach, coming off another national title, of course. And this video is of Saban talking to some recruit. They don't show the recruit. And Saban's just talking about, listen, at Alabama, we had 64 guys last year in the NFL. 64 guys off our team are in the NFL. He said, and he rattled off the national championships and the conference championships and the Heismans and all the rest. And he said, you're going to hear from these other schools. National Signing Day, of course, this week. you're going to hear from these other schools, and they're going to tell you, well, come to our school. Don't go to Alabama. At our school, you're going to play right away. And that's very enticing. And, you got your big dream. You want, go to college for a couple of years or 4 years, go to the NFL, become a superstar. Well, great. And it's true, Saban says. If you go to that school, you will likely start more quickly than you would here, maybe. That's because we, Saban said, have competition here. We have competition not just on Saturdays, we have competition every day between other great players that are just as great as you. And he rattled off again some names, but then he used Amari Cooper as an example. And as you know, you can find the Amari Cooper video here when you're digging around for me and my stuff, where he says, Nick Saban taught me how to play Hurts. Taught me that, listen, if you want me to rotate you in with some other guys, I will, if you're saying that your finger hurts, your ankle hurts, your wrist hurts. But, I'd just soon, Saban would tell, I'd just soon play you, Amari, if you... And Cooper told me that taught Amari Cooper, just stay on the field, tough it out. Saban told Cooper that, I think he asked him, like, what percentage do you feel? And Amari said, I'm about 70%. And Saban told Amari, and he's probably a freshman, and he said, I'd rather have you at 70% than most guys at 100. And he said, you at 70% is better than the cornerback covering you at 100. So play at 70%. And Cooper's very appreciative to this day of that lesson from Saban. And the next thing you know, Cooper's the 4th overall pick in his draft, 2016, right? He's been in 4 Pro Bowls, I believe. Comes off a Cowboy year where they didn't have their quarterback, and he still does his 1,000-yard thing. Basically a perennial Pro Bowler. And Saban's trying to tell this kid, that's the result of daily competition. And by the way, Amari Cooper, I believe, was a star as a freshman at Alabama. A difficult thing to do. So it can be done, young man. But yeah, you can go to that lesser school and play right away. Or if you're good enough, you can play right away here. But every day it'll be competition with the Crimson Tide. It is a really great pitch from Saban. Go find it at Fish Sports on social media. There's a story out there, and it's naturally, and I understand it. I'm not going to belittle it. I understand it. How about J.J. Watt to the Cowboys? I think somebody put together the top 5 destinations for J.J. Watt. The Cowboys are always going to be connected to this kind of thing, media-wise. I haven't heard one way or the other on it. Just what my logic tells me, somebody out there is going to pay him his $17 million. That won't be this team. There's also logic that tells me that his desire to go to an instant contender. I know that around here we think that Dallas might be that, but he's from Wisconsin, and Aaron Rodgers just publicly begged management to go get me some help. That might be a good one. He also has 2 brothers who play for the Steelers. That might be a good one. I know this, exclusive. I've had 2 people now in the NFL, 2 different NFL teams tell me, I don't know exactly what the price is going to be for J.J. Watt, but they're like, the Texans will lose the trade because that's where the Texans are. Item. We have learned what Washington's offer was for Matthew Stafford. He eventually, of course, this weekend ends up going to the Rams. Washington offered this year's 1, which is 19, offered a 3, and offered a defensive starter, offered a player that I assume is a defensive starter. Watch Washington now start, because Stafford's to the Rams. They'll take their next shot now. Surely they're on the phone with Houston trying to investigate the Deshaun Watson thing. And I offer to you again, if Matthew Stafford, and I know about the baggage of Jared Goff having to go with it, but in a way, the Lions traded Matthew Stafford and got 2 1s and a 3. And the conversation in Houston is about, you need to give us 5 1s, your spouse, and your firstborn. It's okay to think about what Dak Prescott is worth in trade. It's okay for me to do it. It's okay for you to do it. It's okay for the Cowboys to do it. Ultimately, though, avoid the mess. Make it clean. And I don't mean a clean break. I mean a clean marriage. We will keep you abreast of all things going on with the Dallas Cowboys. We do it with boots on the ground in Frisco, and we appreciate you watching, reading, and listening. Fish out.